Hey guys, this is Danny Boy. This is another episode of my Engineer Insanity playthrough series. This time around we will be using Caden and James. Caden is back, and I will be showcasing the Hornet for the first time. I meant to do so when I found it in my last mission, but I accidentally selected the Tempest. But this time we will be using it, and the Grawl Spike Thrower. I get a lot of use out of the Grawl Spike Thrower. It is an incredible weapon, and I put it to pretty good use, though I don't use it to its full potential. So just selecting my loadout. The Hornet is a 3-shot burst SMG. It's similar to the Vindicator, only it takes SMG mods, and I think it might be more accurate and less damaging, I think. I'll have to do a side-by-side comparison at some point. But all in all, a good gun, a nice long, especially when scoped, I'll be using it scoped, a nice long-range, all-purpose weapon. Complements the Grawl Spike Thrower well when you want to conserve ammunition. I will finally be picking up group incendiary ammo, which is very nice. I've gone through the entire game without having an ammo skill, which is my fault. I should have picked it up much sooner, but I wanted to experiment with Carnage. So there's that. Leveling up Reeve. And again, this was a very fun mission. It was a bit crazy at times. You face a very large... This map, actually, I'm on Noveria. This map is featured in the multiplayer. So, one of the Cerberus maps from the multiplayer, this is the part of the game that it comes from. And it's a very wide open map. There's lots of areas to go and lots of areas to be flanked from. So, it does get a bit nuts at times, trying to keep track of all the opponents and just not dying from grenades and being flanked. I do die a couple of times. One death is just completely ridiculous and unfair. Another death was just a bad grenade. That is my first death. I ran towards the grenade, I think, rather than away from the grenade, not realizing where it was placed. But just setting up my bars real quick. And again, this was my first mission of the day, so getting acclimated to my controls and everything again. But I wanted to try out the Hornet, so this time I'm going to just use it from the back ranks, play a little bit of an artillery mode here. And Caden already died from something, and I thought that James would automatically use his ammo power, but he doesn't seem to be doing so. At least it's not affecting me. I'll be manually applying it in a second when I have the time. And we are already switched back to our Grawl Spike Thrower. I have the tendency, my god, that weapon, to, headshot, to use it really from far in the backfield and just charging shots and fire. You don't necessarily need to do that, though, and I tend to just shoot once and assume that's going to kill somebody. This is a level 1 Grawl Spike Thrower. Eventually, I probably will be able to just shoot once and know that somebody will be dead. But later on, I realized that, especially when facing shielded opponents, it's best to just get a charge shot off and then immediately follow with a regular shot. And that usually, that 1-2 punch usually can finish somebody off. So here I'm realizing that I'm being flanked, and I want to take this guy out. But I don't really want to commit to going down. And here's a grenade that, yes, I just couldn't get away. Threw it behind me. I didn't realize it, so I walked towards it, and then I tried to move away, but what can you do? Grenades happen. Unfortunate. But let's try this again. And yes, again, it seems like sometimes you can shoot through the drone, but other times you just can't. Like right there, that really should have hit, but it seems like only maybe 2 of the spikes actually hit. Another grenade. These guys really throw out a ton of grenades on this mission. I don't know if it's that we're getting farther into the game, so they throw out more grenades, or just there's just so many of them, or what, but so many grenades. You'll notice that I have a new headpiece. I am now using, boom, the Recon hood, which is straight 10% more damage. It's an excellent hood, suits my playstyle perfectly, and it looks amazing. And I was very upset that in Mass Effect 2 I was not able to get this weapon because I did not do anything with the Dr. Pepper promotion, and there was a time where you could get it regardless. There was a bug in the system and anybody could get it, but I missed that opportunity. So I was always irritated about that because in my opinion it's one of the coolest hoods in the game. I believe it is the hood that Adepts use in the multiplayer. If not, it looks very similar.
Yeah.
This is another example of me trying to remember what is my freaking bind for Overload, and why is Caden not using it? And again, the party members are supposed to have kind of a... And here's just a bunch of misses. There's a body shot. Just getting overwhelmed. I believe when you hit attack, the bind for attack for party members, it's supposed to use whatever ability is most pertinent to the situation. So if an enemy has shields, they should use Overload if they have it, like Caden, or if they have biotic armor or armor, they should use Reeve. But he doesn't really seem to do so. He seems to just use the last ability that you had him use. That becomes bound to his attack. So I now realize that I'm going to have to bind Overload. Kind of unfortunate, because I would have preferred that bind being something else, but what can you do? And I just refuse to constantly go into the drop-down HUD and select powers. It's just very slow, and I just have no desire. This is an example of me not being able to hit moving targets because I suck. Miss. I'm switching back to the Hornet just because I'm tired of missing. And yet another grenade. It seems like every 10 seconds or so, like clockwork, a grenade comes. Bit of overkill there. But again, this mission was really fun. I love being able to flank enemies. I love opportunities to close in and just wreck them. And just open-ended areas. Large improvement to Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2's maps, by and large, were spear in the chest. Were, by and large, very linear. Just mainly kill zones. And occasionally you'd have a horizontal map where you were able to flank, but by and large they were very linear. These maps are much more wide open, depending on the map and the planet, but overall much more wide open, especially when facing Cerberus. You don't usually have that luxury when facing Reaper enemies, but Cerberus, there's a lot of strategy that you can employ. So, just trying to find our last enemy, and I use my drone sometimes to just scout out. And wherever it moves, whatever direction it moves in, that's the direction that there are enemies, so just doing that right there, and sure enough, there's enemies right around this corner. This is our last sequence for this video. We'll be finishing off the planet in our next video. And I'm now in a situation where a sniper rifle would probably be better. They have lots of cover. I really only get the tops of their bodies every so often, and it's hard to get shots off with the spike thrower in this situation, though it's still, of course, doable. I wonder if there's a scope for shotguns in this game. I mean, hunting shotguns do sometimes have scope, so it wouldn't be out of the question. And the spike thrower definitely plays like a hunting shotgun. There we go. This is an example of this really isn't working. I can't close in, though, because there's just too many of them. So I'm going to position my party members in a second to cover this entrance, I believe. Yep, there they are. And I hear a grenade, and thus I am terrified. Amazing how quickly a grunt can take down your shield. I'm now out of metagel, so I need to be a little more cautious. I use metagel very liberally, just whenever the situation calls for it, I use it. I don't save it. And when I do run out, I just play more defensively, and it seems to work well enough. Just these last couple of guys just dug in, having difficulty getting line of sight on them. Here we go. You'll notice the Hornet has some fairly minimal recoil, but it is there, so you do need to realign shots between firing. I will show it off more when I get to SMGs in my target practice series. Check that out if you haven't, by the way. You can check it out on my channel, and I have a playlist made. But this is the end of our video, guys, so thanks for watching, and have a good one.